what you want. Baby, I got it. What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Sherelle Unique here. Of course, I have to do a review on the Aretha movie. Y'all know I went to go see it. I am a super fan of Aretha. You can't be a singer and not know who Aretha Franklin is. She's an icon. And so I just feel like you really can't be a singer, especially a powerhouse singer, and not know who she is and not pay her her dues and give her her respect. So in this review, I'm actually going to do a review on the movie Aretha, but I'm also going to speak about National Geographic's Genius Aretha. That was season 3 of their Genius series, and so I'm going to talk about both. So guys, hope you're ready. Y'all know I got notes. Y'all know I got notes. So let's start off with the movie Aretha. It starred Jennifer Hudson. You know that she is a powerhouse singer. She was handpicked by Aretha Franklin herself after she killed one of the performances. It was an Aretha tribute. And I think that Jennifer Hudson really carries the essence of Aretha Franklin. She has that anointing. She has that anointing that is only given by God. And I feel like you can't, it's not something that you can make up. It's something, it's a gift. It's a gift, and it's a God-given gift. And when Aretha saw Jennifer Hudson sing, she heard it right off the bat, and she knew exactly what it was. And I feel like only a person with gifting as such should be playing Aretha, right? And I really feel like Jennifer Hudson did the movie justice. She did a great job. She did well acting. She did amazing singing. She looked the part. Wardrobe was on point. I enjoyed her. Movie as a whole, wardrobe was everything. The look was everything. The feel was everything. All of that was there, y'all. The music sounded great. It was on point. They played the hits. Of course, they can't play all of Aretha's hits, but they hit all the ones that were important. Natural Woman, Think, Respect, Chain of Fools. These songs are iconic songs, y'all, and it's important that we have all the most favorite ones in the bunch, because why? It's an Aretha Franklin tribute, so it's really about the music, y'all. It's about the music. So let me turn this air conditioner off. Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me. This was important to me because, especially to me, when I moved to Pittsburgh, I was the youngest in the very first Aretha Franklin tribute that they had out here, and that was exciting. Being the youngest person in the show, I learned a lot from all the women that I performed with. And that was 10 years ago, y'all. So some of them I am still friends with to this day. Rest in peace. Some have passed on. So this is important to me for that reason. Also, when I went on tour with the Glory Gospel Singers in 2018. I believe that's when Aretha passed. And in the show, I was the one who did the Aretha Franklin tribute. So I got to sing Respect and Natural Woman. And so I do a lot of Aretha music, and she is just, like National Geographic said, she's a genius. Period. She's a genius. All right, let's move on. So I'm going to cut to the chase. I enjoyed the Aretha movie. I enjoyed it. It was good. What I liked about it, like I said, the scenes were great. The music was great. The wardrobe was on point. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. Was it flawless? No, it wasn't flawless. But it gave, I believe that unless you're like really nosy individual like myself, it gave what it was supposed to give, okay? Could there have been more? There definitely could have been more. And that's where it falls short for somebody like myself. They cut a lot of corners, which I already knew they would. But I feel like they gave the movie that Aretha would have wanted them to give. They gave the movie that Aretha's family would have wanted them to give. If you knew anything about Aretha, she was very tight-lipped. She had a lot of skeletons in her closet. She had a lot of secrets. And she did not like a lot of her business out in the streets. There was a lot to tell. So my flaw with the movie was that it was a lot of corners cut. However, that won't be an issue for a lot of people because some people don't want all the tea. Me, I want my tea. I want lemon in it. I want a little sugar in it. I want all the tea that I can get. Because that's just me. But I think for somebody that doesn't plan to delve as deep as I did, I think it gave enough for that individual. Now, in comparison to Aretha, Genius Aretha, if you're gonna watch just one of them, I would say to go with Genius Aretha. It really delves deeper into her past, her childhood growing up. It delves deeper into family issues. It just shows a lot more. It's a mini series, so you get a few episodes, so they have more time to kind of play with the story and touch on different things in the story. Yeah, that's my opinion. In Genius Aretha, they had Cynthia Erivo, which she also played Harriet. I was skeptical about that, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I felt like she's a I think she's a mezzo soprano, so she's like right in that space between alto and soprano. She might even just be an alto with extended range. So I didn't know that she could hit the notes. So that was my concern. Plus she doesn't look like Aretha at all. You know, I just had doubts. But Cynthia Erivo came to do her job, okay? And she did a great job. She did not mess around at all. She came in, she sung her songs. She switched the songs up just a hair, but not enough for it to matter. She did not take away from the integrity. Her voice is outstanding, okay? She can really sing. And I did not miss anything watching her. I believe that Jennifer Hudson's approach, so there's two sides to Aretha. And in the movie, she's kind of like, you watch her finding her voice. There's evolution from this young girl who is, she's timid. She is quiet. She uses her gift of song as her way of communication. She shuts up a lot and holds a lot in. And Jennifer Hudson took that approach in the movie. She silenced herself, like. And if you watch some things with Aretha, especially young Aretha, it was a lot of, you know, just holding her, biting her tongue. You know, and to have a father like she had, with so much rule, so many different men in her life who had so much rule and power over her, she had to be silent a lot. So Jennifer Hudson took that approach, while Cynthia Erivo, she gave us more of the more controlled version, in control version of Aretha. Once Aretha did find her voice, how Aretha would work the press. When she started to speak, she said what she meant, and she meant what she said. You're going to ask me a question, I'm going to give you your answer, and you're going to be done with it. And so I liked seeing both. I wish there was a version where there was both. Or at least a better progression of that. So, because I believe that both was right on. honestly. I believe they both showed Aretha, but at different stages of her development. So those are my thoughts. Alright. Let's get into the movie some more. So, it starts out with, and I'm not going to go verbatim. It starts out with Aretha in bed. She's a young girl, and her dad's having one of his infamous parties, and he calls her out of bed to ask her to sing for his friends. He's doing a house party. Her father is a very well-known minister, and back then, at that time where they lived, the church folk were just as popular for being church folk as they were for being party animals, okay? They would party. I read the book for Aretha, and in the book, they even quoted something that Ray Charles said, how they would have threesomes at the parties, guys with guys, girls with girls, whoever, however, for however long. That's the kind of parties that would go on that CL would sometimes host or be a part of. CL Franklin, Aretha's dad. And at these parties, Aretha would be asked to come down to sing. So she was exposed to a lot at a very young age, seeing people partying, drunk, having sex, whatever, and not really being watched much at these parties. So she's at the party, she sings her song, she kills it as usual, and they love her as usual. They had in the movie Dinah Washington, which is who Aretha really looked up to, another singer she really looked up to, and that was played by Mary J. Blige, which was a nice little surprise. I didn't know she was in the movie, and it was cool to see her in the movie. So her dad begins to take her through the chitlin circuit to sing, gospel chitlin circuit, performing. Now she had other siblings, but he singled her out to be his favorite because he was an up and coming traveling minister. She had an extraordinary gift, and he probably used that to boost his popularity and his ego. Aretha was raised by her dad, and it's because her mother left the family at a very young age. Her mother left when she was approximately 5, I want to say, maybe even younger than that. And then her mother died when she was about 9 years old. They don't show the mom leaving in the Aretha movie at all. They kind of have it set up to where she has already left. She's coming to pick the kids up for a summer. And she spends time, and that's where Aretha is learning to play the keys. And that's where she's gaining some of her singing ability. Her father was a singer as well. And so when her mother passed at the age of 9, she went silent for a very long time. She would not speak at all. And so they showed that kind of thing where it would make her dad upset. And he kind of broke her out of that, like, you are going to sing at church. You're going to sing. You can't stay silent forever. And so she did. She eventually got her voice back. But there was a lot of, as you can see, there was a lot of trauma, a lot of exposure to things very early. The abandonment of her mother not being there, neglect, and then the grief of losing your mom at such a young age. Yeah. They showed some of these things in the movie. However, there's more to the story, which is what was shown in Genius Aretha, which is what I read in the book. And also, if you check out on YouTube, one of my favorite podcasters, her show is called Ashley Says So, she will give you the tea of really any old school celebrity. She has a show, just bring in the tea, bring it all together, and she gives you a story with all the tea of these artists. So there's more to the story that, of course, the movie Aretha left out, which I knew they would, because Aretha does not want her skeletons out. Aretha's family does not want those skeletons out. So for me, it was a little shortchanged. That just is what it is. But I'm gonna give you some of the tea. So Aretha's dad, obviously was an up and coming minister. He married her mom, I think maybe early age, 24, 25, something like that. They were together for approximately 4 years. And he would do like counseling sessions with the kids of the church. Well, he ended up getting one of the kids at the church pregnant. She was 12 years old. He was approximately 25 at that age. And she got pregnant with a child. And that girl got sent away because back then, although people would talk, pedophilia wasn't like a big thing back then, unfortunately. And so she got sent away because of her behavior, because she was loose, she was being fast. And he continued on. He continued on preaching as if nothing happened. And he eventually moved his family out the church from the drama. But part of that, his womanizing ways, the arguments and whatnot with Aretha's mom, that is what is stated as being what caused Aretha's mom to leave. Because you get this young child pregnant at the age of 12, and in the book it said, and the rumor was, he had an appetite for young girls. So, like I mentioned, of course that is left out of the Aretha movie. Time goes on. Aretha's starting to travel with her dad, and of course she's too young to be traveling with her dad at such a young age, but there's minimal supervision, and she ends up getting pregnant at the age of 12 years old. She would never really reveal who got her pregnant. It is rumored that it was someone at the party, which is what was presented in the Aretha movie. It is also rumored that her father got her pregnant with her first child. Her first child is named after her father. But there's no proof of this. She named her first child Clarence. And I think one of her children has a disability. I wanted to double check that. I think maybe autism or something like that. So that part of things was mentioned in Genius Aretha. However, it was not mentioned in the Aretha movie. They did show a young boy flirting, an older boy, older than Aretha, flirting with Aretha when she was young. She was still carrying a doll with her. And then later they did a quick glimpse of her being pregnant at a very young age. Still pigtails in her hair. Yeah. Yep, her oldest son had disabilities. Yep, sure was. I'm not sure what. I'm going to look it up to see exactly what it was. What he has, but yeah. Another thing that they did not show in the Aretha movie is Aretha was pregnant again by the age of 14. So she had 2 children by the time she was 14, 15 years old. She had to drop out of school. Her dad saw to it that she dropped out of school so that she could just focus on the kids and singing. However, Aretha didn't learn anything from any of this, because she was still like partying. She would drop her kids off. Her grandmother would take care of the children, or she would have her siblings take care of the children while she would go party and do her thing. She did not feel like she could be a full-time mom. She wanted to focus on singing and developing her career and living her life. However, she did go and visit her children regularly. They touched on this in the Aretha movie. In the Aretha movie, they showed her pregnant as a young kid. They just do a quick glimpse of that. However, they did not show her with the second pregnancy at all. They just popped up and she had 2 or 3. And she would go and check on them with her grandma. And that would be it. Genius Aretha, on the other hand, delved into that. It showed her pregnant with both kids. And then it showed her grandma taking care of those kids. So it's a toss up of how much tea you really want. Okay. Yeah. So let's get into some more things. Aretha meets her husband, became her husband, Ted White. In the movie, Ted White was played by Marlon Wayans. And let me tell y'all something. I was not convinced that Marlon Wayans could handle a dramatic role when he got on the screen at first. However, he made me a believer. Okay? And he was quite coming across kind of sexy when he wasn't, before he started beating on her and getting crazy. I was like, okay, man, they was doing real kisses. I'm like, alright, seeing tongue, and I'm like, okay, y'all do what you do while you're doing what you're doing, okay? So I was watching it. I was like, okay, he came across as a little bit of a sex symbol. I'm like, alright, which I kind of had a little crush on him back in the day, with his crazy self. And like I said, at first I wasn't buying into it, and he made me a believer. I was like, okay, go ahead, Marlon. And he showed a development of their love affair, Ted White and Aretha, her first husband, and how he ended up becoming her manager. Her father was very upset, and he did not approve of this at all. And how it started out as a loving relationship, and his ego and his demons started to spread, and it ended up being to where Aretha ended up being in the same relationship she was with her dad, because they had similarities. This is a man, a very like an alpha male, and he ended up being very controlling and abusive. Yeah. And I think Marlon Wayans in the movie Aretha did a great job. I really think he did. In the movie Aretha, they did not tell what he was doing with his money, how he was making his money. That she basically just said, I know what you're doing with your money and I don't care. Why? Because Aretha liked a little bit of a bad boy. But why would she not? If she looks up to her dad, C.L. Franklin, why wouldn't she? You know what I'm saying? So, in Genius Aretha, they did mention that he was a pimp. He was a pimp, and that's how he was getting his money. And Aretha was aware of that and was okay with it. until he started to treat her like one of the hoes, pretty much. But in the movie, I really enjoyed Marlon Wayans' depiction of Ted White. I think he did a great job. I was watching one of his interviews. He was saying that the real Ted White, had no interest in doing an interview with him at all. He was hoping that he would be able to talk to him, get a little bit of insight on how to play his role, so that he just didn't come across as some crazy monster. He wanted it to be like, okay, he has demons too, and Aretha has demons too. And that's kind of how they played it in the movie. We have our demons, we have our skeletons, we have our things in our closet. And they did a great job in playing that in both movies. Aretha lived a life, y'all. Okay, she lived a whole lot of life. All right, so from there, she leaves him, and at this point she's dating Ken, her road manager, and I think his name is Ken Calloway. I could be wrong. But by this time, Aretha's really in a deep, dark place. She's not showing up for gigs. She is double booking herself. She is coming on stage drunk to the point where she has even passed out on stage, literally in the middle of a song, literally passed out on the stage because she's drunk. Her holding these things in, possible sexual abuse as a kid, having 2 children at a young age, the abandonment of her mom, the death of her mom, this womanizing preacher of a father, being used for your gift multiple times over and over and over, and not speaking about any of this has really taken a toll on her. And she really got into this state of having a horrible ego. If you watch Ashley Says So and just hear the rumors, Aretha's ego was out of this world. If another singer came up and thought they could sing, she was rolling her eyes. She was not having it. You're not about to sing better than me. From what I hear in the streets, in the rumor streets, she got mad at Beyonce because Beyonce said Tina Turner was the queen. Not even, just casually said it. She's like, who? How you gonna call her the queen? I'm the queen. So she would taunt her sisters every so often, because one of her sisters had a record deal as well, but neither one of them could get their footing in the music business. But she would be like, y'all want my crown? She didn't like Natalie Cole because she felt like Natalie Cole was trying to sing like her. And like, Aretha had a stank-a-dank attitude during that season of her life, and she was not feeling no other female singers. They were all competition for her. So those were her dark stages. And I felt like the movie Aretha did show this side. It did show this point. And I thought Jennifer Hudson did a great job at acting and showing that side when it came down to it. The dark side, the demon side, the side that just when it just started to bubble over and manifest, that trauma started to manifest. And I believe that Cynthia Erivo did a great job as well, showing Ingenious Aretha, showing those moments, that dark side, the trauma, the whatnot. Shortly after, they showed, her father ended up getting robbed and being shot at point blank range in his home. It was to the point where he was in, I want to say maybe in the hospital for several months and ended up dying. Or maybe even a couple years and ended up dying from that robbery. His dad had some shady dealings in the streets. Her dad had some shady dealings in the streets. And it caught up with him. And so in the movie, they didn't touch on his passing at all. They kind of rushed it to the end. They didn't touch on her dad's shadiness, his shady dealings in any way, shape, or form. They mentioned him dating Clara Ward, I believe, another singer, and how he was difficult to date. But they didn't go into any of the things. Now, keep in mind, her dad wasn't just all bad. He was a gifted man. He was one of the first traveling ministers out there. And he did have a gift, and he did have a voice that people listened to, and he did encourage the people. However, her dad had a lot of shady dealings. Her dad had a lot of flesh that he was still engaging in, fleshly desires that he was still engaging in, and they did not touch any of that in the Aretha movie. However, in Genius Aretha, they absolutely talked about that. They showed how he had passed away, and they, of course, they rushed to the end when he finally did die. They didn't go through the whole thing of him being in the hospital and Aretha taking care of him or anything of that, but they showed it. They didn't touch it at all in the Aretha movie. They stayed in the Aretha movie. They kind of stayed to this was her childhood pertaining to music. This was her music. This was a couple of her relationships, and we're going to touch a real quick brief of her alcoholism for one quick second, then back to the music. And back to her legacy. And that's what the movie brought as a whole. While Genius Aretha brought the rest of the tea. And her family didn't approve of Genius Aretha. Her family felt like they had not reached out. But we know that Aretha was very tight-lipped. She did not like her business out. She did not tell her business. And so it makes sense why they wouldn't reach out to the family for this. Forrest Whitaker played the dad in the movie, and he did an excellent job. I could feel you could feel his energy. You could feel his energy on stage. I'm gonna find out who played the dad in Genius Aretha, because I forgot. It was Courtney B Vance. And Courtney B Vance did an excellent job as well. I feel like, although we didn't see as much of the dark side in the Aretha movie of Mr. Franklin, you could feel his energy. You could see that he had total control of his daughter and everything that went on with his family. And he was not about to let anybody come in and steal that. You could feel every ounce of that energy there. With Courtney B Vance's depiction, I felt his energy, but it didn't come off as strong. And we actually got to see a balance of him being on stage preaching, showing love and care for Aretha, and concern for Aretha, but then also having that iron fist as well. So I feel like he had just a little more balance. He had a more a stronger presence, Forrest Whitaker. I enjoyed both. And I believe both to be true. I feel like C.L. Franklin was a very complicated man in that. And he had a lot of demons. Yeah, that's what I think. So we talked about some of the trauma. We talked about some of the demons. And then we also know, which they didn't touch on in either movie or depiction, that Aretha's weight. They didn't go into that at all. which I'm wondering if when she gave up alcoholism, if she picked up, an eating disorder or, overeating to compensate for the food. Neither adaptation touched on that at all. Neither one. Let's see. One thing I liked about both is that you could see how the hit songs were created. You could see the time it took. It takes a long time in the studio. If y'all have never performed or never recorded in the studio, you have to get every word, every breath, every consonant, every vowel. It has to be perfect. You have to keep doing it until it is perfect. The equipment we have now, we can get through it much quicker than back then. Everybody had to be on point back then. One nigga mess up, we all messed up and we starting over. One take we don't like, we all messed up and we're starting over. Now, if one little line is messed up, we can keep it all and I can just record that little line. So, I love to see the hard work, the sweat, blood, and tears of it. I heard that she was missed one take. So maybe she developed into that later on where it was like really miss one take. Like you go in, you gonna sing your song and you out. One thing I do know, if Aretha wasn't miss one take, Whitney was. And the awesomeness about that is Whitney was actually in the studio with Aretha when she was a very young age because Whitney's mom, Cissy Houston, would sing background for Aretha Franklin. So Whitney got to sit there and it was like a master class for her watching Aretha. And that high note, it ain't no way, I believe it's Cissy Houston from my research. So yeah, it's cool to see how the songs developed, how like with Respect, it was someone else's song first. And then she revamped it and made it her own and stamped it. You heard? You can't even sing it the old way no more. You ain't even thinking about the old way no more. Because she just killed it. She started to come into her own, and that's one thing I love about the movie, is watching her evolve from this timid girl. I don't want to say shy. People always say shy. People call me shy, and I'm like, I'm not shy. Bashful, timid girl to becoming her own boss, to making her own way, to making her own music, taking charge of her music. I want the sound to sound like this. She would perform the same songs, but she wouldn't perform it the same way twice. And from what I heard, that was from her for her own sanity. Could you imagine singing the same song for decades? Every time you go somewhere, you keep singing these same songs. Well, Aretha was a master at switching it up, but it's still keeping like the integrity of the song, the coolness, the this, the that. She was just everything. And then watching, knowing and understanding that she didn't start off with hits. Both adaptations showed she didn't start off with hits. She started off with, she had 9 albums before she got the hit that she was trying to get. She started off with her dad wanting her to do gospel, mostly. He wasn't against other music, clearly. But him wanting her to do gospel. And then the labels wanting her to do jazz. So she kind of stayed in that box. But when she started to branch out and do what she wanted to do, that's when the hits started to come. Now, that's what you saw in the movie. Now, in Genius Aretha, you saw the same thing. However, when she started to do what she wanted to do, she started to get a lot of pushback because it was like, well, you're too all over the place. You're doing everything. This song, that song, this genre, that genre. And she's like, I'm going to do what feels right to me. And I got some push. I love this, and I learned a lot from this. I get some pushback for that as well. I've had people tell me, oh, you're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at them, blah, blah, blah. I have to do what I feel my audience wants and what I like. Period. And one of these things is going to take off. So I loved watching that from both the movie and from the series. What else? So I think I mentioned a lot of stuff. Another critique, and I might have said this already, the movie was pretty long. The movie was, let me see, 2 hours and 30 minutes or so. Yeah, I think I got there at 5:30 and did not leave there until 8. Yeah. So the movie's pretty long. You do get a nice amount from the movie. So, like I said, even though they cut corners, the movie's still good. Jennifer Hudson still did it justice. She still did a wonderful job. I still enjoy the movie, and I think others will as well. But if you want that tea, please read that book. And please watch Genius Aretha. Like I said, I think Aretha would be very proud of the movie that was depicted. And I think her family will be very proud of the movie that was depicted. I'm gonna double check this. I'm gonna let you guys know what that book is too. I know her son Clarence had a disability. I'm not exactly sure what that is. If you find out what disability her son Clarence had, let me know, because I'm not seeing it. Yeah. So, and it could have been really from her being so young. To have a baby at the age of 12, your body's not fully developed. That could play a role in it. It could play a role if this was an incest baby. We don't know. You just don't know. So, you guys let me know what you think. The book that I read was Respect, The Life of Aretha Franklin. It was written by David Ritz. I enjoyed it. I did the audiobook. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Let's see what we got. Hey, Michael. Hey, Reverend Stubbs. She said, I'm glad the movies displayed the creative genius of Aretha that also showed the complexities of life that accompany the most creative souls that grace this earth. I feel the same way. It's crazy because it's like you have to go through something in order. Like, if you really pay attention to the ones that have reached that level of talent, they have gone through a lot. They've gone through a lot. To reach that level of talent, it's like you have to reach a certain level of pain in order. I don't know. It seems to go hand in hand. I don't know. And it seems as though she just put it all in her music. Sorry, y'all. I'm looking on my computer. See if I can get something on her son. one thing, when it came to Aretha and her death, which neither movie mentioned this, but I'm going to mention this. She had passed due to advanced pancreatic cancer. She was still singing up to that point. There's videos of her still singing up to that point. And that's what she was here to do. One thing I didn't mention was her activism. Aretha wanted to march. She was good friends with Martin Luther King. Now, there were two different depictions. In the Aretha movie, you see him as just a friend of the family, someone she looked up to. She would sing for his events, and she told him she wanted to get more involved and more active despite what her father thinks or says. She wanted to march. In Genius Aretha, you actually see her at protest rallies. You see the friendship between her and Martin. They also kind of hint at a little flirtiness between the two of them. They didn't say anything romantic actually happened, but like a little light flirting here and there between the two, which I wouldn't be shocked if that was going on for real. Just when I consider both personalities and what I've heard about both. And so that's one thing I want to make sure I mention. With all of her many accolades, all of her many awards, all of her many successes, she you can add that in activism. She was big on that. She didn't want to stay silent anymore. When she found her voice, and she used it, y'all. That's one thing about Aretha that you're not about to take away from her. She really, really, really used the life that she was given, and she worked it to the best of her abilities. She gave all that she had until she could not give anything else. And so it's important to learn from that. I believe when we conduct our own lives, to just give your all, to utilize the gifting that is within you, and you don't have to stay in one style. If you want to walk, if you want to march, if you want to sing, if you want to get up and speak, whatever that is for you, do it, and do it until you're no longer here anymore. And that's what we can learn from the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin. All right, those are my thoughts about the movie. Yeah, I liked both. This could have gave me more. This gave me what I liked. But I liked both. Write a comment below. Let me know what you think. And yeah, let me know what you think about the movie, about the review, about all of these things. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It's your girl, Sherelle Unique. And I'm out.